Hello and welcome to the Criminology, Criminal Justice Studies Research series. I've made one other video on research and conducting the research project here in the Criminology, Criminal Justice Studies program, but I was asked to do a completed video on the annotated bibliography itself. And why is an annotated bibliography important? Because not many people have actually done an annotated bibliography, and it's not really pushed. But I find the annotated bibliography is extremely important. The annotated bibliography is more than just a brief summary. It's more than just 250 words summarizing an article or a website. It combines the summary of what you've read with an evaluation of what you've read. And when you take the research methods class with myself or the other professor that teaches it online, you'll have a more in-depth discussion about critically appraising and evaluating an article. But just for the sole purposes of an annotated bibliography, what is it? Well, it is a list of sources, books, journals, websites, newspapers, etc., that are used when you're researching a topic. In MLA, it's called a works cited. In APA, it's called references, but it's a bibliography. You can also title it bibliography. An annotated bibliography is an organized list of sources with a paragraph or two that describes, it explains, it evaluates, and it justifies each entry in terms of the quality and the relevance of the article. So when you're writing your annotated bibliography, you want to identify the authors. You want to identify the journal. You want to evaluate the title. You want to evaluate the methodology. You want to discuss the methodology and the results and their conclusions. And then you also get to put your own thoughts into the annotated bibliography on how this particular source is beneficial or how it's useful or how it works towards making your life, your research project better. So what do you get out of writing an annotated bibliography? Well, it's prep for the research project. Okay, you have to read. And I recommend that you do this for more than just your current research topic. Keep an ongoing annotated bibliography for everything that you read, every book that you read, every article that you read. You read a chapter for class, log it, identify it, put it into your annotated bibliography because it helps you learn about your topic. It helps you become a critical reader. It helps you become a critical thinker. It helps you develop the arguments that you want to present in your paper. And it's practice for good college research. But it also helps you, more than anything, it helps you organize your thoughts into active voice. It helps you understand what you've read and then to be able to reproduce what you've learned from what you've read. Okay, so it shows your reader that your sources are informative, it's relevant, it's credible. It makes it easier for you to see if numerous sources are saying the same things. So because I read 4 or 5 articles a day, and if I don't put them in an annotated bibliography and if I don't write them down, I don't journal about them, I might vaguely remember what it was about, but I have no concrete memory of the article that I read. So you journal about it. You make an annotated bibliography, and I'll show you one of mine here momentarily in a little bit. But you can also help determine whether or not you want to use any particular source in your research. Okay. This is, another thing that the annotated bibliography does for us is allows us to identify the gaps in the literature so that we can focus our research to fill those gaps, because the part and the main purpose of research is to increase knowledge. Okay, the literature review is where you regurgitate knowledge. The research is where you want to create new theory, new knowledge, new hypothesis, new understanding of a particular topic. So the annotated bibliography is going to help you provide the evaluation and the reason for why this information is relevant to the research topic, where the gaps are. And you are required to think about your research and be critical of it as you are reading your articles. How does this article apply to what I'm wanting to do and what I'm wanting to convey and what I'm wanting to research? So where do you start? You start you find your resources before you start writing anything. Okay. And so you start by going to bring this up here, and I'm going to share my screen. So I'm trying to share my screen. You're going to start in the library. Okay, and you're going to start right here in the library. Okay. And you're going to type in your search code. So the days of alt-rage, or the days of alternative rage, using the Weatherman movement to deconstruct the radicalization of the alt-right. Okay, let's search that. Okay, that's the exact title of the article, so that's the one that I'm looking for. So let's go back to the library and get rid of the Weatherman movement, and we'll just get rid of all this, and we'll change it to the radicalization of the alt-right. Okay, we only want those things that are available online. We only want those things that are peer reviewed, and then you hit search. Comes up with 7 results, and it talks about the alternative right, the psychology. So you want to start reading these things. Okay, pull them all off. So let's just go to another term. Let's go to radicalization of right wing. And now we have 184 results. So you can come in here, you can do a preview. It's going to tell you a little bit about it. Let's go to the full online text. And the first place that you want to start reading is if there is an abstract, you want to start reading that. But you can read and you can tell the populist right-wing parties have spurred widespread concerns that established democracies are suffering from a crisis of political legitimacy. We see this unfolding right now on the world stage. So this might be a good article to read. So you would want to read this. You review the source. You choose those sources that provide a wide variety of information and perspectives on your topic. Okay, so this would be a good one. Then we can go back to our results, and you just find your sources. You want to read as much as you can and as much as you want about these, and then you create your reference list. When you're writing your annotation, the complete citation should always come first, and then the annotation follows, and then you move on to the next. So this is my annotated bibliography. On the cover page, we're following 7th edition. Okay, so the 7th edition, the cover page has no heading. Okay, I started this when I was with Walden University, so I probably need to update it. I'd say, okay, and then the second page starts with the annotated bibliography, and then you see my citation here. Okay, this is a book. Okay, Preventing Hate Crime, Profiling Hate Crime Offenders. This was actually in the Western Journal of Black Studies. It was page 40. It was the 26th volume, edition, issue 3, and it was on page 140. And then then immediately, still left-hand justified. Okay, you notice that the citation is in a hanging paragraph, and then the annotation is in a regular paragraph with the first line indented. And then the first part, you talk about who they are, and you summarize the article, and you talk about the different parts of the article. This particular article has 4 parts, so I broke down and I discussed part 1 and part 2 and part 3 and part 4. And then, it was a brief summary of the paper. Then you go to the next one. You notice automatically, or you should have noticed automatically, that the reference list is in alphabetical order. Okay, this is from the intelligence report. It is a watchdog group called the Southern Poverty Law Center. And this article was about the end of the Volksfront. The Volksfront is a extreme right-wing neo-Nazi group that has been operating in the United States and Europe since the mid-80s. And this article from back in 2013 suggests that Volksfront is on the decline and is dying. The domestic terrorist threat background issues for Congress. This was a report that was written to Congress. It's in the Congressional Research Center. And you've got all of your information. So at this point, let me share another secret with you. Okay, so right here, if you wanted to cite this, you cite this item, and then you click up here, and then you want to check the American Psychological Association, the 7th edition. And then this gives you the citation. You just copy it. And then you can paste it in. And then, of course, you have to remember that you need to change it to a hanging paragraph. All right, did you see how I did that? Okay. And then you read the article, and then you would make the changes. Okay. Another way to get your citation is to go to the citation machine in APA format. Okay, so let's do a Google search. And then right here, you get the citation machine. You click on APA format. It brings you here. So let's find an article that we want to cite. Okay, and this was by Weatherby and Scoggins. So if we go back in here, this is by Weatherby and Scoggins. So we're going to cite this one. Okay, sometimes they don't have all of the information. That's what they found. So when you click on the next page, this is going to give you, the authors are here, the journal, the title is here, the volume numbers here, the issue, if there's a series. You fill out all of the information that you can find, and you fill this out, and then you hit continue, and here it goes, and then you can just copy it and then paste it into your paper. Again, make sure that you highlight it and you change it to a hanging paragraph. And when you hit enter, you need to change it back to first line. Okay. And then you can start your typing and all of your information there. Okay. Most of the professors are going to require you to have 6 to 9 sources. So when you turn this in towards the end of the semester, make sure that you do have 6 to 9 sources. Again, you want to place a summary of the source. You want to put a commentary on the relevance to the topic. If there are any special or unique information that you learned from this particular source, what is that? What are the strengths and weaknesses of this source? Okay, and again, it's one paragraph. It's about 250 words. And again, the citations must be arranged in alphabetical order. So when you're summarizing the source, you want to identify what the main arguments are, what's the point of the article, what topics are covered in the article. You want to paraphrase everything. You do not want to quote anything. You do not use quotes in an annotated bibliography. Let me say that again, because it's extremely important that you hear it. It is extremely important that you hear it and that you do not quote anything in the annotated bibliography. Everything in the annotated bibliography is your words. It's your assessment. It is your evaluation of the it's your assessment and information of the source. Okay. You need to add to or assess whether or not it was useful. Is this source reliable? Is it biased or objective? Use index cards. As you're reading, take notes of the article. Use an index card and write notes down, or use a notepad. Just use a notepad and take notes of the article as you're reading it. And this way you can properly evaluate the article. Okay, so this is a brief, a 20-minute brief discussion on the annotated bibliographies. If you have any further questions about it, you can come see me in my office, even if you're in somebody else's class and you're not in my class. Make an appointment with me. My office is 3244 on the 3rd floor of the Mesa building. We can set up a Teams meeting so we can do this virtually over the computer. My office phone number is 432-552-2355. And if you have any questions about the annotated bibliography, please don't hesitate to come visit me or talk to your professor. Thank you.